This week's episode, you'll meet Derrick. And Derrick's a great story because he's been avoiding flying for 15 years after having a very terrible flight, which he admits how he built himself up to that. But there was a moment when he decided to do something about it. And that's what you're going to find out about in this podcast. And it's a really nice story. And he took a good long run at it. So you'll hear exactly how he did it. And you can copy his method as well. So I hope you enjoy it. So this week's episode, we welcome Derrick, who is a keen follower of the podcast, amongst other things. He'll be sharing his story, but welcome, Derrick. Welcome.
Thank you, Paul. It's an honor. Listen to you quite a bit during my journey, so it's an honor to be talking to you.
Likewise, it's thank you. It's giving your time up. This is what helps people. People love the stories. So I'm very grateful to you giving your time. So Derrick, tell us a little bit about where, who are you, where are you in the world and all that sort of stuff.
So I'm right by St. Louis, Missouri in the United States. And I work for a medical device company. So we work with hospitals all over the United States to sell surgical instruments.
Okay.
I have been married since 2014 to my beautiful wife, Jen, and we have two beautiful children. We have a little girl who's 2, and we have a growing boy who's almost 9.
So, oh, wow. You're busy.
Yeah. Yes, very busy.
Excellent. So, so tell us a little bit about where your story starts then in terms of how the fear started.
Sure. So I was a pretty late flyer. I didn't fly for the first time until I was about 16 years old, 15 or 16. No reason. It wasn't because I was afraid beforehand. I just never had the opportunity, never came up. When it was time for a family trip at that 16, that's probably 2006. Wasn't nervous beforehand. Didn't, I didn't know what I didn't know. And actually took that flight round trip to Florida and back. Not a real long flight, couple hours, and was absolutely fine. No issues. I wasn't nervous at all. Not a problem at all. And it's actually funny. My mother has this kind of big bulletin board in her house from our vacations where she just kind of pin cushions pictures. And there's a picture of me at 16 on that plane sitting by the window and me looking back at her and her taking a photo. And there's just a sense of I'm good.
Yeah.
And I've always looked at that photo later in my journey when I visit my mom, and I always think I need to get back to that. Yeah, to that file.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So after that, I didn't fly again. Again, much like before, not because I was worried about it or had a fear. I just never had the opportunity. And about 4 years later, I had the opportunity to fly to Vegas. It was looking forward to it, no issues. And I'm telling you, when the flight took off, everything was fine until the takeoff. I don't even remember really going to the airport and going through security and waiting, checking in your luggage. It was such a non-event. I don't even remember it. I mean, I don't remember being nervous or the build-up. But then once it took off and it left the ground, it was like an instantaneous white knuckle grabs the armrest kind of thing. And the entire trip, I just thought, I'm ready for this plane to land. I need this plane to land. Right. I didn't feel like I was going to have a panic attack or anything, thankfully, but very uncomfortable.
Then you were just like holding the armrest.
Yes, it's the thought that at any moment, this is going to go bad. That was what I was telling myself. I had no reason to tell myself that. The flight was totally fine. We were totally safe. There was no issues whatsoever. But my brain was saying, at any second, it's going to go wrong. So we landed, did Vegas, on the way back. I kept telling myself, you got to fly back. I'm not driving back. For those who don't know, that is a very long drive from where I am. So I'm just gonna have to grit my teeth and do it. I hadn't flown for several years. Maybe that first one was just a little rough. So I kept telling myself, it's fine. I was just getting used to it again. Uh, and I had the same thing on the way back.
Okay, all right, sure. What on earth had happened then between that time?
Great question. So I don't want to say unknowingly, but I started to get in this rabbit hole of um, researching plane incidents. I don't know why.
Yeah, I was gonna. So what? I mean, why did you? What started it? There must have been a day you just thought, "Oh, I'm gonna do this."
Sure, correct. Yeah, I believe I saw one maybe on the news, and I couldn't tell you what it was or if it was even anything bad happened. And once I looked at that one, it led to another, and then it led to another, and then it led to another. And over the course of 4 years before I knew it, I had read a lot. I had watched some of the TV shows, and it wasn't. I didn't know at the time I was feeding a fear. I just found it interesting.
Yeah.
Then once it was time to fly, after watching those and reading those for 4 years, I had realized that I was feeding a fear. I was creating a fear. I was learning a fear, um, and that is what happened. When I flew a few years before that at 16, I hadn't watched any of that. I didn't read any of that. It wasn't on my radar.
Mm.
Um, and then after that, it was there. So after we landed, no, you're fine.
How much do you think you consumed
Oh
in that
goodness.
sort of that period? I mean, what are you talking about? Like every day, or
Maybe not every day, but when I get interested in something, no matter what it is, I get really into it. My wife will tell you. So, um, if I find something I want to learn about or know about, then I have to know everything about it. And sometimes that's really good. But if it's a bad thing, then sometimes it's really bad. And in this case, it was. I didn't even know it, but it was.
So the interesting thing was that you were kind of just following your curiosity, learning about all of this stuff, and
Mhm.
then as you were then processing this, were building up, unbeknownst to you, a kind of a fear of flying.
Absolutely.
You weren't aware of it. You weren't. It didn't occur to you till you got on the aircraft.
Yeah, and then all of the things I had read about, I had thought about, you know, well, I'm trying to think how to explain it. Then I had ideas of what could happen.
Right.
Yes, and so when we're in the air, I'm thinking about this and I'm thinking about that. And previously, those thoughts were never. I never had anything to go
Mm.
off those thoughts, and now I did. So, um, after that, I told myself when this plane lands in Vegas, that will be the end of my flying adventures. So let's get through this flight. Let's get home and call
And
it.
that was it. So you knew at that point that was you
Yes,
go.
that was my plan. That was my plan. I am not a flyer. That will just be me. That will be my life. I will not be a flyer. That was in 2010.
That's cool. I
And
mean, that's just pause a second. That's quite a thing to say to yourself, isn't it?
I know. Yes,
That's
and
it.
I distinctly remember it. And I distinctly remember it because I kept that mindset for so long, up until semi recently.
Wow.
And the thought always crossed my mind. Oh, and I've had people ask, well, what if you have to fly for work, or what if you get a job and they make you fly somewhere? Honestly, I don't have any idea. I know I'm not going to do it, but I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't know how I'm going to get out of it. I'll cross that bridge when it comes. It never came, but that was my mindset. My wife is a frequent flyer. She flies, has no problem with it, doesn't bother her a bit. She's a lot stronger than I am. Um, but so she wanted to fly places, and you can, I can't do it. So fast forward, we had our two beautiful children. My son is almost 9. Obviously never flew with him. My daughter is now 2, and
Can I just ask, Derek, so because I think we're going to come to the bit which I know when I read in your pre-notes, which is a really good moment for you and hopefully for the listeners. But what can you tell me a little bit more about what the impact of not flying meant for you? I mean, was there any impact, or did you manage around it quite well? I mean,
Yeah. I was fortunate, like I said, for work to never be in a position to have to not fly or turn down an opportunity because I wouldn't fly. Um, but a couple of things. One is the fear was always there, and the fear of, am I going to get in a position where I had to make a really tough choice? Am I going to have to fly, or am I going to turn something down? The fear of that always being a possibility weighed on me too. But I think what you're referring to is one night at the dinner table.
oh, yes, we'll come to that. Okay, so
Oh, okay.
so because I'm curious, like, so what did you do? You know, like, I mean, I know America's huge, and you've got everything you could possibly go to. Does
Mhm.
just literally mean that any holidays you took were what, driving or other forms of
Yes.
transport? Yeah.
Yep, it was all driving. My wife and I are fortunate to where our entire family lives within an hour's drive of where we are. If that weren't the case, I'm not sure what we would have done. Um, but we did take some trips around the U.S., but all within a drivable distance. If there wasn't a drivable distance, and I was going, and that I didn't go. My wife visited New York with her family and my family, and I stayed home.
How do you feel about? How did that feel?
Well, I was really fortunate because someone had to watch our son. Our daughter wasn't born yet. And I said, right here,
Oh, I'll do it.
yeah, yeah, yes, I'll do it. I'll be happy to do it. Oh, you still, they flew. Yes, I will stay home with our son. You go have a great time.
Brilliant. Oh well, so it's quite convenient then in some ways, but it was
Yes, it
curious
was.
anyway.
But the point was, is whether we had our son or not, I was not going to get on the flight. So that's how it worked out. But if I had to turn it down, I would have turned it down. So
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so you've kind of I get a sense that you've got quite a long period of time where you're just aboard the flying thing. It sounds like it's having an impact, but you're managing around it quite well. And there's even some benefits to it. Oh, I'll stay home.
yeah,
Gosh, yes, I see. But there, there is obviously it must have at some level have bothered you.
it absolutely did. I mean, it bothered me, and it made me angry that I had the fear. Because even though I was able to avoid flying, I didn't like the cloud over my head of not being able to if I needed or wanted to.
Yeah.
Um, it, so where I work, we have people over the country. At any time, I could have been asked to fly somewhere. And just the fact that I have to worry about that being a problem, bothered me. I was jealous of people who didn't have the fear, like my wife, who could just hop on a plane like it's a go-kart and yeah, whatever, here we go. Um, I was jealous that other people could do that. And I really wanted that.
So yeah, so that's interesting, isn't it? And what up until the moment we're going to come to in a second, what had you tried to do in terms of getting over the fear?
Nothing. And I'll tell you why. I didn't even want to attempt it because I thought I might be crazy enough to try it. I might think that, oh yeah, I'm doing a lot better. Maybe I should do this. And then I'll get on the plane and then I'll be like, this was a huge mistake. I was so afraid of that happening that I didn't even want to start step one of looking into.
Yeah.
It made it too real. Like, okay, here's the first step. Eventually the last step is going to be you getting on a plane. Well, I just won't start the steps and then move on to it.
Fair enough. Okay, understood. Okay, so let's cut to the dinner table then. The moment.
Yeah, it's really funny how kids can put things in perspective. I've had this beer for 15 years.
So everybody knew then. It was kind of it was a
Yes,
thing. Yeah.
absolutely. Everybody in my family knows. I don't hide it because I don't even want them to ask me to fly. Let's just get this out of the way. I don't fly, so don't even ask.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
kind of like that. Uh, so my it before we get to what was said at the dinner table, my wife used to always say, "Well, when you're over your fear of flying, we really need to go here. Well, when the kids are older and you're willing to fly again, we need to go here." And I would always tell her, "I don't think you understand. I'm not going. This isn't like a cold that I'm going to get over. Like
Mm.
I'm done. I'm not going to fly. I'm not going to get over it."
Yeah.
So my son would hear those conversations of my wife bantering back and forth, just kind of joking with each other about it.
And how was she about it? Because it's quite a thing to, it's having an impact on her as well, isn't it? Yeah.
It absolutely has. And she she wants the best for me. So she really wanted me to get over it for me, not even for her.
Mm.
She could tell that it bothered me for sure. And she really wanted uh she of course she wants her and I to do things together that would involve flying, but I think more than anything, she knew how much it bothered me and how it was a big sticking point in my life. And she really wanted me to get over that.
Mm.
So
Yes.
yes, at the dinner table, I can't remember the specifics of what we were originally talking about. Something about getting something down from a step stool. Wasps, you're right, that's it. Knocking down a wasp nest because wasps are really bad over here. Um, and I said that's fine. I'm not a person who's afraid of too much. So I said that's yes, I can knock it down, not a problem. I add to the list. And my son said, well, "Aren't you afraid of that?" And I said, "No, not really." And my wife said, "Yeah, Daddy's not really afraid of anything." And my son goes, "Well, except flying." And he was right. He
Mm.
was 100% right. But to see my son or to hear my son say that uh, really struck me because if he sees me as fearless and I have this fear,
Yeah.
I really felt like at that point I'm I'm gonna pass this on to him. Here's my dad who's not afraid of anything or knock a wasp nest down. He don't care, but he's not gonna fly though. That's too much. That's too
Yeah.
far for
Yeah.
him. It's too far for him. It's too far for me. That was what I was concerned about, and that exact moment didn't make me want to change, but that was the very beginning of me thinking maybe I really should look into getting some help. Maybe I
Yeah.
should
Yeah.
gauge this. Maybe this isn't okay. Um, and maybe he does need to know that it's okay to be afraid of some things. But it's okay to get help and try to get over them. You don't just have to live with it.
Yeah.
That was a big turning point.
These are nice messages as well, aren't they, from a parent? But
Yeah.
I can see that, a lot of people have either developed the fear when they've had kids, or sometimes having the kids has made them go, I don't want to rob them of experiences or pass my fear on to them, which is what it sounds like for you was
Mhm.
going on.
Yes,
Mm.
absolutely. And that was before we had our daughter, and it just kind of amplified once we had her. That um, I hate having the fear.
Yeah.
So I don't wish anyone to have it, but I certainly don't want my children to have it because I know what a pain it is and I know how bad it is. So I'm not interested in them experiencing the same thing.
No. Okay. Excellent. So this sounds like the beginning. It was like a catalytic moment,
Yes.
provided
Yes.
that fuel, maybe a bit of motivation. Okay.
Yes.
So when exactly was that, would you say?
Well, that was probably in 2023, mid 23, late 23.
Yeah. You did mark the date on the calendar then.
I did not. I did.
The conversation, having a list day. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So, all right. So what happened next? What did you
So
do about it?
at the time, nothing, but it was a big I had lots of things that probably should have let me get over my fear. My wife going to New York to visit and her coming back and telling me, "Oh, you really got to go. It's beautiful." And And then, nothing ever. I was like, oh yeah, I don't care about it enough to do this. But my son saying that was the big turning point where that stuck in my head.
Yeah.
Once my daughter turned 2, we had decided to take a trip to Disney World with my parents. Um, for us, that's about a 13-hour drive if we drove. Yes, brutal, brutal.
Yeah.
My daughter is not a good car rider. My son is. My son can ride in the car. He can do pretty well. My daughter does not. And my wife had become so accustomed to my fear that her plan was to drive. And I said, I can't make everybody do this. I can't.
Wait, then what age did that?
Well, she was pretty excited
Yeah.
because at no point did I show any willingness to do that in the past. And it wasn't simply because like I'm not riding 13 hours in a car with the children. That certainly was part of it. But I had that conversation my son had said in my head. And I thought, you know what? It just felt like it's time. I've had this fear for so long. I've never tried to get help in any way. I've never read a book about it. I've never listened to any podcasts. I've never done anything other than avoid it.
Yes.
And it just felt like I'm tired of having this fear. I'm done. I'm tired of it. Now, I don't know what reading books and listening to podcasts and doing everything I can do. I don't know what that's going to do. I don't know if I'm going to get over it. I have no idea. But I do know that I'm ready to try.
Okay.
And that,
so that's the uncomfortable, isn't it? Yeah, that's the sort of like that. Yeah. Okay.
yes, it's time to start. It's time to start somewhere. Time to start researching. What do I need to do? What do I need to read? Where I need to watch, listen to. And so I started reading a lot of articles from people who had a fear of flying, books they recommended. So I started ordering those books and I read them. And they helped. But I wanted to consume as much as I could.
Here we go again. It's that thing again, isn't it?
Yes. Right.
I really know everything.
Right. Now it's assisting me.
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to reverse it. And I thought, fear of flying, that's a fairly common thing. There's got to be a podcast out there. I bet if I just type in fear of flying, something pops up. And Paul, it was yours. Right off the top. Lovefly. So I thought I'll just start listening to this. And I loved it. Loved it. It's really funny how the simplest things that you would think this fear is so complex. I've had it for 15 years that simple thoughts wouldn't change your perspective, but they do. So hearing you say you weren't born with this fear, you've learned it. It's so simple, but when I heard that, it was life changing. I hear that and I'm thinking, well, that's true. Here I thought I could never get over this, but why can't I get over this? Yeah, of course I can. It's not a gene, mutation. It's something I've learned and I can unlearn. So just hearing simple phrases like that, obviously didn't get me over my fear, but it gave me what I needed to keep pushing and keep learning about how to get over it and not to give up and not to be like, this ain't working or whatever.
So in terms of like, so that was your process then, just so
learn as much as possible. Learn as much as possible.
So what sort of timeline are we talking now? So you've got the closed Disney World. You're at this.
Yes.
You found the podcast.
Yep. This is this is before we left for Disney because I wanted to. I had about a year because Disney takes a lot of planning and a lot of saving. So I had a year, and I thought for the next 12 months, I'm hitting it hard.
Wow.
I'm gonna hit it as hard as I can with everything I can, and that's what I did. I any book that sounded like it would help, I read. I listened to a ton of the podcast episodes. I mean, in the car, in the office at work, at the gym. I'm listening to, I listen to Lovefly. And so, it's,
Thank you.
oh, of course. Thank you.
I didn't realize we've been an earworm for you all this.
Yeah. And well, it's one of the reasons why I really wanted to do this was because it helped me so much to listen to all these. That
So what was your process, Mr. Curiosity Man? So you sort of go into it and you've got a fight. So did you go, because some people start at number one and work their way through, others kind of dip in and out and play a few
So,
times. What did you
yep.
do?
So I did start at number one and worked my way up. And then I would skip around. So I felt like I had some specific fears, and then other fears that people had of flying didn't really bother me, or that portion didn't bother me. So if there was a topic on those, I would skip it and think, if I really need to, I'll come back, but I don't really have an issue with that particular thing. But for the most part, I tried to start at the bottom and work my way up.
Wow. So how many do you think you got through in the end?
Oh my goodness. A lot. How many? Where are you at now? How many?
We're up to 240. Well, I think it's officially 245, but it says 242 because we did a few specials which didn't have numbers on, but that's the boring detail. So
Yeah. Well, a couple hundred then. And I'll tell you, one of my favorites was the audiobook. That was one of my favorites. I listened to that from start to finish. I really enjoyed that. Of course, the stories from people who are just like me, because when you have this fear and everyone around you doesn't, you really feel, when it comes to this fear, it feels isolated. Everyone's, my family, my wife are all flying and doing trips, and here's me hanging out at home. I'm not flying. And nobody that I know of around me has this fear. In my family, in my friend group, nobody has this fear. So you really feel like, wow, I'm crazy. I'm the only one. And then when you listen to these podcasts, you realize, no, there are a lot of people that are struggling just like I am.
yeah. And that's interesting. Excuse me a second. I'm just going to cough.
Yeah.
I'm back. Yeah, it's quite impressive. So you liked the audiobook, which is at episode 69, if people haven't found that one. What was it about that you think that made it stand out? I'm not fishing for praise. I'm just because it's quite a long episode though. It's about an hour and 40 or something, isn't it? Yeah.
It's very, even though it is a long episode, you're right. It's an hour long. It, at the same time, is very succinct, and I think hits the points of what people who have a fear of flying are afraid of. And I feel like, in order to help people get over their fear of flying, they have to understand what it is about flying that they're afraid of. And then the person, in your case, who writes the book has to understand what the fears are and how to get over them. And in my opinion, for me at least, that audiobook did that. It spoke to my fears. Even the jokes that you would make, like, I bet you're afraid of XYZ, and I would think, yes, I am, actually. Yes, that's spot on. I thought that my fear was so complex and so convoluted. My wife would ask me to try it. Like, why are you afraid of flying? Can you explain it to me? I can't. It's so complicated. Or I would explain it to her, and she'd be like, I don't understand, because she doesn't have the fear, so she doesn't get it.
Yeah.
But then I listened to the audiobook, and I'm thinking, yes, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Like, my fear is not some weird complex thing that's uncurable. It's actually pretty common. And the things in the audiobook hit all the pillars. I think the book is set up in pillars, and those pillars were the fears that I have.
Oh, that's always good to hear. That's the thing. I uploaded that. If I'm honest, it was a slow week, and I was thinking, oh, what am I going to do for a podcast? Because in the early days before Sir John, who contacts a lot of people now, he said, "Do you want some help with that?" And I said, "Oh yeah," because I was just kind of, sometimes I'd be scrabbling around going, "Who can we get on this week?" And I'd be literally recording it one night and then putting it out the next morning. So we're a little bit ahead now. And that was that week was a slow week. I thought, "Oh, what am I going to put out?" I thought, "Oh, I've got this thing here, this recording," and it's funny. I can see from the stats, it's been a popular one, but it's a weird thing. I can't bear to listen to it because it's me narrating with the narrator voice rather than the normal voice. And so yeah, but if it's helped you, then I'm delighted. It was a combination really at the time. Like I said in the book, it was a summation of like having sort of done that sort of stuff at that point. I suppose 1997 to when did it come out? It brought it out during the pandemic. I think it's around that sort of time. So it's I don't know, 15, 16 years of 15 years probably of like helping people, I guess. I don't know. I mean, it'll be, I worked out the other day, it's going to be next year. What year are we in now? Is it 25, isn't it? 25. Yeah. So in 2 years' time, it'll be 30 years of running nervous flower courses. So
Yeah, that's
helpful to hear that, the themes resonate. But really, all I've done is just listen to what people say. People like yourself who've been kind, generous enough to share their, and people's sort of darkest moments, they're saying this is what I'm scared of, and so it's been an honor really to be able to, that people trusted me enough to say this stuff, and me and my colleagues. So thank you. So did you notice then as you were listening, because you had a year, you were hitting it. How often were you listening to these things?
Daily, for sure. Yeah, daily. A couple I've listened to twice. If I hadn't heard it in a while, I would go back and listen to it.
Any that you can, and as you mentioned in episode 69, were there any others that you thought that was particularly helpful for me?
Yeah, the episode where we went through a flight. So
Episode 46,
yes,
Stages of
yes.
Blight.
I couldn't remember the episode numbers, but I remember the topics. Yes, that was super helpful. Because all of the noises and the clunks and the dings and the I was prepared for that when I took my flight. Whereas before, or had I not listened to that or not gotten any help, each bump or ding or anything that wasn't us flying straight ahead with zero movement in the plane at all was going to make me think, what is that? What was that?
Yeah.
So that was incredibly helpful to me. Knowing what's going to happen ahead of time or what you should expect and what's normal was very helpful. Because if you don't know it's normal and you're in a fear state of mind, I feel like your mind doesn't say, well, it could be normal or it could be bad. It's just bad.
Yeah.
Of course. Knowing it's knowing it's normal, knowing the dings are just there to notify the flight attendants of what they need to do, whether it's sit down or feel free to service. That's all it is. It's not a secret signal to let everyone know that this is it or anything like that.
Yeah.
So just knowing that is helpful.
Yeah. Okay. And did you notice as you were listening, was there a moment where you thought, well, actually, I'm feeling a bit better, or not?
Yes. The majority of the time, yes. As I learned new things, I'm not really afraid to admit this, but my little understanding was that if a plane lost both engines, that was just it. That's how it flew. Obviously, we know that's not the case. So just learning that was an epiphany. I thought, oh, okay. So we're not being held in the air by the engine. We're being held in the air by the wings and the air. As you start to knock down those walls,
Then
that are up, and I probably like most people had several walls that needed to be knocked down, but knocked them down one at a time, some harder than others. And I did feel better. And it was odd because some days I feel like I made a lot of progress and felt a lot better. And then there'd be other days where I'm thinking ahead to the trip and I'm thinking, man, I don't know. I mean, I do feel better, but still nervous,
Mm.
you know. Feel a lot better than I did before, but I'm still nervous. And then there were certain days where I was thinking, I'm ready for this.
Right.
Do it.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was a bit of a roller coaster.
Mm.
But one thing I did do, and I'm glad I did, was on the days I didn't feel like I was making the progress I wanted to, I didn't stop or say like, okay, I'm done. That's it. I thought, okay, I'm having a not as good of a day or what have you.
Right. Yeah. So how did you keep going then? Because that's interesting.
Well, one way was I had made the commitment that I'm doing it. So I thought to myself, I can either, on these bad days, I can either stop
Yeah.
listening to the podcast and stop reading the books and fly and, make it much worse,
Hmm.
or I can keep giving myself a knowledge even on days where in my mind I'm thinking I'm a little more afraid than normal
Yeah.
because I'm gonna do it. So I might as well keep the information coming. Having a bad day, oh well, keep the information coming.
Brilliant.
Um, so that commitment that I was gonna do it,
Mm.
I had promised my wife, but she would never hold me to it. But I had promised her I was gonna do it. I didn't want to let my kids down.
Yeah.
And then truthfully, Paul, I didn't want to let myself down. And I felt like if I didn't take that flight, I would have been in a really bad spot as far as getting over it.
Yeah.
I can't come that close to the ledge and not finish. So, and I thought it would be a major setback if I didn't take that flight. So I had made the commitment early.
Mm.
So my thought process was I'm not going to listen to Lovefly and read all these books and then see how I feel and then we'll go from there. What we did was I told my wife, okay, we're flying. Go ahead and get the tickets. We're going to fly, and I'll
Yeah.
do everything I can over the next year to get prepared for it. And I
Brilliant.
think that mindset helped
Mm.
because I never wavered on if I was going to fly or not. So that large portion of the dynamic and the tug of war struggle was removed.
Yeah.
So I felt like my mind had more room for, okay, we're flying, that's happening. Push
Mm.
that aside. How are we going to get better at it? How are we going to get over it? And that was super helpful to me. So I don't know if this works for everybody, but some advice that I would have is if you're going to fly, commit to doing it.
Yeah.
Commit to doing it. And that way, that wishy-washy part of your brain, I just feel like that occupies a lot. So while you're trying to get over it, you're also trying to determine at the same time, am I going to do it or not? So make that decision that you're going to do it, then work on getting over it.
Yeah. Love this. I think, I've said this before, but it's so important to have a goal, either something that you wanted to do. And if you can mix it up with with actually, and if I don't do this, this is the consequence. And yours is a great example of that. You've got your son saying, oh yeah, but you don't fly. And
Mhm.
that's in your mind. And you don't want to give him that or your daughter the fear. And plus you've set a strong goal and giving yourself, an important point that people need to think about is like give yourself a good run at it. So giving yourself a year. And you said something which I thought was brilliant, and you might have just thought nothing of it, but you said, "I'm not going to wait until I feel okay. I'm just going to commit. I'm going to do it." And I think that's a really important message because you don't necessarily, I don't always feel like I want to go to work, but I'll go. and then in the act of doing it, you suddenly your brain catches up, doesn't it? Or your emotions catch up, and sometimes you have to do the thing even if you don't feel like you want to do it. And so I really like that, Derek. That's a really good point.
Yes. So so I guess I'll fast forward to it's
You want to say, yeah, we want to know
for
about the
Disney.
flight. How? So what? So leading up, did you have any anxiety before the flight, thinking about it?
I did, yes. Not crippling, not no. Again, this is happening, especially now. We're here, so it's definitely happening. But yeah, I was nervous. I was nervous before the flight. I hadn't flown in 15 years, so the last time I did, I hated it. So yes, I was nervous. I felt prepared, but nervous.
Yeah.
We get to the airport, check the bags in. Um, you know, doing okay, but again, nervous.
Mm.
Board the airplane, everything's fine. We take off. Um, when the plane lifted off the ground, I had an instantaneous thought of, what am I doing? Why did I do this? As your stomach
In a good way or
drops.
bad way?
In a bad way, for a second. And I share that not to scare people into, if you work on yourself for a year, it doesn't work, but to say that if you do and you do feel that, it's okay. It subsided.
Yeah.
After we got going and I got a little more used to it, it subsided.
Okay, so let's rewind a little bit, Derek. So were there any moments, because you said you has had some anxiety before, so I don't know how that showed itself or how long before it was, but were there any moments where you could have faltered?
And not take the flight. Is that what you mean by sure? I mean, at any time I could have just said, I'm not doing this. Um, and my wife would have understood. I think. I didn't want to put her in that position.
Yeah. So what about the anxiety before? How long before? Because you had this obviously this year up, but when the year to plan, but how long before the actual flight did you have any anxiety and how did it show?
I mean, I thought about it frequently, especially reading the books and trying to get over it. That also keeps it in your mind, knowing that you're trying to get ready for it. The night before, you know, was, I don't want to say it was tough, but definitely heightened in anxiety than a typical night. I actually felt better the morning of, as we were getting ready. It almost felt like, you know what, it's here. We're about to do it. It's about to happen. And I actually felt better than the night before, where I'm like, oh, tomorrow we have to do this. It felt better the day of. It really did.
Did you manage to get some sleep?
I did. Not as good as I normally would.
But that's fair enough.
Yes, I was able to sleep. Um, but but yeah, not great sleep, but sleep.
So great. So so you got on the flight. This is after 15 years of not flown. So just tell us a little bit about what you think
Sure.
about it, what went well.
Well, so for starters, before we took off, I probably should have mentioned this first. My son and I met the pilots. We didn't seek them out. They just happened to be, when we were waiting for our flight, they just happened to be kind of standing next to us. And so we chatted with them a little bit, and that was helpful. I didn't share with them that I had a fear of flying. Would recommend people actually do that. I didn't do that, just as we were conversing there, and they were a little busy, but they were very nice. So it was nice to put a face with the people that are flying. But the flight attendants were phenomenal. They were great. Um, it's really funny. I did a couple of things I did from the podcast. I did do the cup with, I had soda, but a cup with soda in it on the tray during turbulence, and yeah, it barely moves. The soda in the cup barely moves, if at all, if at all. I mean, it looks like you're sitting at a dining room table. Despite what you feel in the seat, that's what it feels like. And there were a couple. It's really funny. There were a couple of turbulence moments on the flight that I was like, whoa, hey. So I turned to my wife, and my parents were sitting behind us. And after the flight was over, the landing was fine. Everything went perfectly fine. And I told my wife, my parents, I said, man, that was some a little bit of crazy turbulence, a little bumpy there, wasn't it? And they all looked at me and they're like, no, not really.
Yeah.
I said, really? I thought it was a
Well,
little
we're on the
just
same flight. Yeah.
yeah. And they were like, nope, that's just normal turbulence. There is. They were, they were like, wasn't a big deal at all. I said, okay, thanks.
Well, it's good. I mean, probably it's helpful to have that calibration.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it does.
it
It
was.
does notice it more and feel more,
Yeah, didn't bother them a bit. So something that was really interesting. While I did the flight and everything went fine, I was really hyping myself up for an entire year that I'm going to take this flight and I'm going to love it. I'm going to enjoy it. And I didn't enjoy it. I didn't unenjoy it. It wasn't terrible, but I didn't love it.
Yeah.
So I told my wife, I said, I'm a little disappointed in myself. I worked so hard at this. We took the flight and I didn't, I didn't love it. Didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. And I feel like, wow, I had higher expectations. And she looked at me and she's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You got on the flight and you flied. Who cares if you didn't love it or you didn't think it was as great as you thought it was going to be? If 3 years ago, this wouldn't have even been a thought. Like getting on a flight, it would have been shut down immediately.
Yeah.
So she said the fact that you flew here is unbelievable progress. That made me feel a lot better.
Yeah. Well, good. I think nervous flyers do give themselves a bit of, they'll say, well, I didn't love it. It's like, well, it's all right. Don't have to. Well, it was really turbulent. They upset me. Well, it will until it doesn't. And then it doesn't. Eventually you just sort of get used to it. It's lack of familiarity can be an issue for a lot of people. You do one flight a year, 2 flights a year. That can be a thing. Obviously there are regular flyers who don't like flying as well, but that's because they're doing the same thing each time. You have to interrupt your automatic patterns. But in your case, it was like, I'm done for 15 years. You did amazing.
Yeah, the familiarity.
Martha was right. She was right to give you a bollocking. It's fantastic.
Yes. Well, she's a wonderful lady, and she's helped me a lot, and she's, I mean, she was willing to be in the car with 2 kids for 13 hours just so I didn't have to fly.
That's a keeper there.
That's right. I agree.
13 hours, 2 kids in the car. Oh my God.
Yes. I have a major fear of flying, and even I'm not going to do that. So
That's something. Well, I mean, amazing. So tell us then, I can't remember how long ago that was. When was the flight?
so this was only 2 months ago.
Right. Okay. And
Yep.
And as you're talking about flying now, I assume you got back okay because you're here talking to me now.
Yes, the flight back was actually less eventful than the flight there. So, already getting better. Didn't love it, but loved it a little bit more than the flight to Florida. So you can see it getting better even with each flight.
So okay, so you come back 2 months ago. What have you done since in terms of progress? And are you still hitting podcasts, or have you taken a break from it? What's
One of the things I've done that I really enjoy doing is I've joined the Lovefly Facebook group.
Okay.
And I like to, where I can, try to help people out there. So many helped me out on that group. That group is a great space.
Yes.
You can spill your guts, your feelings, and you'll have plenty of people within minutes that will be there for you.
It's remarkable, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
So that's what I try to do as much as I can, is try to give that back. And again, kind of why I want to do this episode. I feel like Lovefly, the podcast, the Facebook group, has done so much for me that I can't give back, you know, quite enough uh,
Oh, thank you.
to where I'm flying. But um, anything I can do, whether that's helping people on the Facebook group or doing this talk with you, I just wanted to volunteer that. And when I volunteered, yeah, I didn't know if you had enough people or whatever, and if you do, great, that's fine. But it's done so much for me that anything I can do to help, I want to help. So,
Oh,
um,
that's brilliant. I mean,
because I know
sorry.
sorry, I was just gonna say, I know how much more freeing it is to get over the fear. Um, and and I know everybody says this, but it really is true. You can get over it. If I can get over it, you can get over it. I know everybody says that, but for 15 years, I refused to fly. If you couldn't even finish the sentence, "Are you gonna fly?" And I would have said no for 15 years.
Yeah.
And I did it. So I promise you, you can get over it. I know a lot of people think, "Forget it, I'm never going to get over it." That was me for a long time. But you can.
That's a mic drop, that, mate. Honestly. So what about next? What's the plan?
The plan is to, if we go somewhere and we need to fly, that's what we're going to do. If work needs me to fly for a trip, I'm good.
Okay.
Am I volunteering for it? No,
Not yet.
not yet. Exactly, not yet. I want to. I want to get to that point, but the amount of progress has been
It's
incredible.
phenomenal. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
No.
So I want people to know that it's not an overnight thing. I probably fed my fear for 10 or 15 years.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to undo it even in a year. But if let's say hypothetically work was like, "Hey, we need you to go out here, we need you to fly," I will say, "Okay, sounds good." Um, I may not love it, but previously I would have said, "No, I'm not doing that."
Yeah.
So there is progress.
That is massive progress, isn't it? That is just phenomenal. So you're not opposed to it. You wouldn't necessarily think you'll love it yet. You'd go work, you do some bit. So this is you're in a good place, Derek. You're in a good place, and you've done, to overcome that after 15 years, like you say, and practicing how to be scared and done it very well. All those, I always say to people, just avoid those programs, because it's okay when you're not scared of flying. You can watch them, and it doesn't trigger you. But some of the way they portray them, the music, the footage, it's just, the, anyway, I'm going to stop. I've banged on enough about that over the years.
But you're absolutely right, because that was a big part for me. And one thing I wanted to say, because I told myself I wanted to say this before we wrapped up, is for me something, a flag I really want to wave, is to try to help at least the U.S. media cover aviation better. I don't think there's any ill intent. I just I read a story, and I won't say who the publication was, but it was a very well-known worldwide publication, that had commented on a Southwest flight that had to do a go around because there was a private plane in the way. Everything was fine, nothing. It worked as usual, but there was a line in the news story that said, aviation had been safe for X number of years or whatever, and they said, due to um, pilot training and whatnot. And then the last line was, "And let's be honest, a little bit of luck." And I just thought, that is so irresponsible to say that. It is not luck. It is deliberate things that are put in place. And here we are, and this is an article referring to call it an incident, where everything worked as it was supposed to. There was a plane on the runway.
Yeah.
Southwest was told to do a go around. They did a go around and then landed safely. That's exactly what you want.
That's the job.
That's it. So I really I say that to say, if you're someone who reads a news story like that and that kind of gets you like, oh wow, a little bit of luck, really? Please be rest assured that it's not a little bit of luck. And just because someone writes that in a media story, that's not correct. And I don't think this person had ill will or ill intent. I just think they wanted to sensationalize it, and that was a cute little line. But for people like me and many others out there, that's a line that we read and we think, whoa, a little bit of luck. Yikes.
Good point. Very nicely made, Derek. I think you're absolutely right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Paul.
For giving your time today and sharing your story and how you've managed to overcome it after 15 years. It's just remarkable. And it just goes to show, I really like, there's lots of elements I like about your tale, but you know, the fact that your persistence, the clear goal, you had a good reason to go towards, and also you had a good consequence. But you also, a lot of it's down to your determination, because you knew you had an opt-out. You could have said, you know, but I love the fact you just weren't going to do that. And I think that's brilliant. And, you know, credit to you for just keeping going and doing the work. Amazing.
Well, thank you, Paul.
Thank you for what you do in a group as well. Thank you for all the I do see, you know, I do see certain names. Once I know somebody talking to somebody, I tend to spot the name coming up and stuff. So thank you for answering people. It's super helpful. And again, for today, like I said, like I always say to guests, you know, the stories are great, and there'll be people that you'll never meet. And so just know that something of what you said today is going to be helpful to somebody. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Paul, and thanks for all you do, and I really appreciate it.
I can never do that heart thing. Also, it's like some sort of, I don't know, donut or something. But anyway, right. Yeah. Derrick, have a great evening, and lovely to meet you. And thank you very much. Awesome.
Thank you.